Thank you. I'd be rich if I had $1 for every time someone asks, why can't Conservatives all get on with each other? The last few days remind me these are just 9 simple words, made meaningless due to the actions of the very parties calling for Conservative unity. These events remind that social media is often used as a form of coercive control through lies. It need not be. Social media can instead inform, inspire and save lives, to the ability of social media to offer a community to those who feel life doesn't care about them, Australians who feel abandoned, vulnerable, alone. These may be divorced men, detransitioners, traditional wives, farming families, vaccine injured, and so many being abandoned in the rush to a woke society that degenerates with each day. I'm concerned that social media may be the baby thrown out with the bathwater unless reason and self-control returns to public discourse. Encouraging blatantly false statements for political objectives is disgraceful, and after personally pointing out the lie, leaving false posts in public shows it's willful. I ask those in this debate to consider Proverbs 15:4. Gentle words are a tree of life. However, a deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. We have an obligation to lead through example, to inspire the best outcomes possible, and I will remain focused on doing exactly that. One Nation understands that while human rights are immutable, these are always tempered with common sense. As the saying goes, just because one can does not mean one should. This is the essence of conservatism, to consider we are part of a community composed of other human beings who we have an obligation to treat with honesty, respect, courtesy and consideration. Not because the government makes us, but because it is the Conservative way. As a Conservative party, One Nation stands opposed to any restriction on free speech except one. Free speech stops where incitement to violence starts. That has been my position since coming into the Senate, and it remains my position. It matters not who the parties are. Violence has no place in a civil society, no place in a conservative society, and no place on social media. I want to pay my compliments and extend my appreciation to Senator Babet, John Ruddock and Topher Field, who have in the last few days demonstrated decency and leadership and honesty, and I thank them for that. Representing the state of Queensland in this Senate is a rare honour, shared with only 107 other Queenslanders since Federation. I am proud to be contributing to Queensland and to Australia. I am proud that in 7 years in the Senate I've only missed 1 day of sitting, and that was spent in hospital. I am proud of how I have decided my vote on the 378 bills that have come before the Senate in that time. Positions I decided on the basis of data and empirical evidence, on the basis of what is best for our beautiful country, and I will continue to do so. You may not agree with every position I've taken. Then again, if votes are cast only for politicians with whom one is in perfect agreement, no one would be elected. I am proud of the work One Nation has advanced in the last 6 years. These include, amongst many others, wage justice for casuals in the coal mining industry, my bill which shamed the Labor government into passing their own bill after years of delay. Yet the Labor bill deliberately hid and failed to recover more than $5 billion stolen over the years from casual workers, something we're remedying. A bill to downschedule medicinal cannabis so that every Australian with a medical need can access natural Australian whole-plant medicinal cannabis on prescription available in the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme. Defeating and removing the cash ban bill. Defeating the misinformation and disinformation laws, because such laws will never work, since one person's misinformation is another person's missing information. Tabling legislation to prevent discrimination on the basis of vaccine status, a bill to which we will return in the next parliament. Securing a committee inquiry into terms of reference for a Royal Commission into the COVID pandemic. I promise to hound down those responsible, and I will honour that promise. A bill to end child labour in the supply chain of products imported into Australia. Blocking the Morrison government's so-called Ensuring Integrity Bill, which unfairly targeted unions. Campaigned for and secured a dairy industry code of conduct. Senator Hanson's personal representation resulted in the addition of Zolgensma to the PBS, a drug to treat spinal muscular dystrophy and atrophy in children. Senator Hanson secured an inquiry into family law and the family law which resulted in the family court, which resulted in substantial improvements to the family law system. One Nation secured $500 million for regional road reconstruction projects in Queensland, Rockhampton Stadium, Ipswich Raceway, Yeppoon Aquatic Centre, $5 million for Driver Training Centre in Townsville, $12 million for community radio, and campaigned successfully to extend community television licences on 2 occasions. And leading the pushback against child mutilation as a so-called treatment for gender dysphoria. This is just a sample of our work, much of its successful outcomes of working with the government of the day. I look forward to continuing my work, if voters so choose, in the 48th Parliament as a senator for Queensland, a senator with One Nation. A party with a leader who has fought tirelessly for the rights of everyday Australians at tremendous personal cost. So-called Liberal Party Conservatives colluded with senior Labor Party members to send Pauline Hanson to jail on trumped-up corruption charges to shut her up. She was released on appeal, charges for which her protagonist, Tony Abbott, has now apologised. Pauline Hanson was Australia's first political prisoner, and here she is now, after 28 years, still casting a formidable shadow over those who advance themselves as alternatives. I look forward to engaging the Libertarians, the United Australia Party, the Liberal, National, Greens and Teals in a battle of ideas, and may the best team win. The preferences of our voters will, of course, go wherever each of our voters place them on their individual ballot papers. In a federal election, parties do not allocate preferences. Voters do. Whoever you want. Personally, I will be preferencing third parties ahead of the majors, with the Greens and Teals, of course, last. In the last few weeks, I have set out One Nation's plan to put more money back in the pockets of all Australians, while restoring wealth and opportunity for all. This is our entry in the battle of ideas. It's clearly gone over well because our political rivals have panicked and engaged in a classic strawman play for almost a week. Don't look at this amazing plan to restore wealth and opportunity to this beautiful country. Instead, look over here at outrage confected with a bill that was decided before it came to the Senate in a Liberal, Labor, Greens and Teal party stitch-up. I have yet to see any criticism of those parties who actually voted for the bill, because this isn't about the bill, it's about the outrage and the distraction. I'm pleased to see so many of our supporters saw straight through it, as did our new members. In the last week, One Nation membership has risen. Thank you. So what is One Nation's selection platform that has our competition running scared? Let me go over what we've released so far, and can I say the best is yet to come. One Nation's election platform starts with allowing Australians to keep an extra $40 billion of your money. This includes these costed policies: joint tax returns for couples with a child to save as much as $9,500 for a couple with one child and one wage earner on the average wage. A reduction in electricity prices of 20% immediately and more than 50% in the longer term once new zero-emission coal plants come online. A 26 cents a litre reduction in the fuel excise. Cuts to the alcohol excise to be announced shortly. Allowing pensioners who meet the assets test to earn an income without losing the pension. Adding as many as 600,000 experienced and motivated and dedicated older Australians to the workforce. Allowing self-funded retirees to earn more before paying tax. To encourage further self-funding of retirement. One Nation's basic policy here is simple: less welfare, more wealth. Ending mass migration to take the pressure off inflation, especially in housing. Deporting 75,000 illegal immigrants. Deporting 75,000 illegal immigrants. Removing GST on building products for 5 years and eliminating the NDIS building code and the 6-star energy code as a requirement for new homes, saving as much as $75,000 on the construction cost of a new home. The truth on these building codes is that in an attempt to be inclusive, we are excluding many young Australians from the housing market. Letting Australians keep more of their own money will be paid for through cutting government spending $90 billion, all costed, and adding $13 billion in additional gas excise from gas exports. I'll explain this in more detail closer to the election. Hell's Gate Dam on the Burdekin River finally One Nation will build, baby, build. We will build, baby, build, including Hell's Gate Dam on the Burdekin River for irrigation and flood mitigation to protect coastal Queensland. Emu Swamp Dam to provide water security to Stanthorpe. The Urana water project to provide water security, irrigation and flood mitigation to the Broken River in North Queensland, while supplying Moranbah with the water necessary for an expansion in employment and development in the area. Watch for that announcement soon. Inland Rail extended along the forestry route to Wandoan, Banana and then the Port of Gladstone, along with an $8 billion container facility to turn Gladstone into Australia's premier container port, with a multimodal just west of Gladstone. Public Works in New South Wales. That will bring logistics benefits to all Australians. Cheaper, quicker goods in and out of the country through Gladstone Port. Public Works in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Western Australia to be announced shortly. Finally, with the cut in government spending, using that paying an additional $30 billion a year off our national debt, the annual interest on which will hit $50 billion a year in 2026-27, making it the single largest item in the budget, interest payments. One Nation will put more money in your pocket and restore wealth and opportunity for our whole beautiful country.